today's video I'm going to show you 5 sneaky chess ideas to trick your opponents, to outsmart your opponents. I will show you the basic idea first, and later I will show you variants of the same idea applied in different contexts. So let's dive into the first one. You'll love it. So the first one is the power of unpinning. d4, d5, c4, e6, knight c3, knight f6, the queen's gambit declined, bishop g5, and now usually we don't like to tolerate this pin and we play bishop e7 right away to break the pin, but knight b7 is a very tricky and interesting idea that appears in the Cambridge Springs. To those of you who like this defense, I highly recommend you see this video that I devoted to it. So knight b7, we are losing control of d5 and white can apparently take advantage of it. So c takes d5, e takes d5, and now accepting the challenge by playing knight takes d5 looks good, but it's simply a blunder, as we can simply give up the queen by unpinning. Knight takes d5, bishop takes d8, and bishop b4, and as the king cannot run away from the check, white is forced to play queen d2, bishop takes d2, king takes d2, and we capture the bishop and we are a piece up. So this is the first one. So let's see another example with the same idea. e4, d5, the Scandinavian defense, e takes d5, we are luring the queen to the center so we can attack it. Queen takes d5, knight c3, queen a5 is more common, but queen d8 is also quite popular. So after queen d8, d4, knight c6, attacking d4, knight f3, and bishop g4. Yeah, putting more pressure on d4 by pinning the knight. So we use a pawn to advance, attacking black's knight, what is completely natural. Our central pawns tend to be very good punishing knights, and the knight comes to e5. So what will you play? We can unpin by playing bishop e2, or we can break the pin by capturing knight takes e5, what is actually what happened in the game. In a bunch of games, this has been played several times. So after bishop takes d1, bishop b5, and it's pretty similar to the one of the Cambridge Springs, but here c6 is possible, and black is not forced to lose the queen right away. But after d takes c6, things are really difficult because we are threatening c takes b7, capturing the rook with checkmate, or even c7 and winning the queen back, or even checkmating. Yeah, so this is lost. There is nothing black can do to survive. a6 might be the best idea, and after c7, a takes b5, c takes d8, queen in, rook takes d8, knight takes d1, and here we are again with an extra piece. Yeah, we have 3 pieces against 2 pieces for black, and yeah, this is a winning position. I'll show you one more example. This is a classical one. This is a very famous one. And yeah, after e4, e5, knight f3, d6, the Philidor defense, and bishop c4, knight c6, knight c3, bishop g4, h3, bishop h5, a bad move, and now we can play knight takes e5. We're sacrificing the queen to deliver checkmate. If the queen is captured, bishop takes d1, bishop takes f7. Yeah, now the knight is defending the bishop and at the same time controls d7, so king e7 is the only square. And guess what? Knight d5, checkmate. Yeah, the king has no square to go. This is the famous legal checkmate. But yeah, usually it's shown in a very, how to say, primitive way. Yeah, I mean, after bishop c4, rather than knight c6, they sort of played h6 or g6, and after knight c3, bishop g4, and here knight takes e5. Yeah, if they don't accept the queen, d takes e5, queen takes g4, and we're a pawn up. Yeah, of course they should do that rather than allow us to give checkmate. But after bishop d1, bishop takes f7, king e7, and knight d5. In the version I showed to you, knight c6 complicates matters a little bit. So knight c3, bishop g4, h3. Why h3 and not knight takes e5? Yeah, if we play knight takes e5, they can capture back with the knight, and now the bishop is defended. So that's the reason why we play h3, bishop h5, and now knight takes e5, and if knight takes e5, queen takes h5, and the bishop was undefended. Yeah, and yeah, there's an extra detail. After knight takes c4, we have queen b5, c6, and queen takes c4. Yeah, and we win a pawn. Yeah, we don't deliver checkmate, but the checkmate was the justification for this tactical maneuver. So this is a very famous checkmate, the legal checkmate. Okay, so let's continue to idea number 2. Okay, idea number 2, I learned it from the Queen's Gambit accepted, and it's pretty simple. Let's see it. Later I will show you from a Sicilian how to arrive to this same idea from a more Sicilian. So d4, d5, c4, and d takes c4. This time the Queen's Gambit accepted, one of my favorite openings. Now after knight f3, knight f6, e3, e6, bishop c4, and c5, castle, and a6. Yeah, this is the modern variation. We're playing b5 and bishop b7, so usually white tries to avoid it by playing a4. Now we continue our development, knight c6, queen e2, a typical way to bring the rook to the game by playing rook d1 next. Now we play queen c7, knight c3, bishop d6. Black's development is very harmonious. Yeah, we're attacking h2 even when it's defended. We're controlling e5 and we're enabling castle. So white decides to play d takes e5, bishop takes c5, and e4. Really aggressive. They are preparing e5 and earning the e4 square for their knight. And here we play knight g4. A very nice move, controlling e5. And white plays h3. What is a blunder? Yeah, black to play and win. Well, the move is knight d4. Yeah, we don't move the knight, but instead we attack the queen and the knight. This is a double attack. We're luring white's knight to d4, as if knight takes d4, queen h2, checkmate. So after knight d4, white has to play h takes d4, knight takes e2, and we are a queen up. So this is a nice idea, nice tactical idea. Knight g4, we're combining the power of long-range pieces as the bishop and the queen with the knight that is really close to white's king, and the other knight that is pretty sneaky, ready to come to d4. So g3 was the right move, but h3 is being played several times, and knight d4. In case you're liking the ideas I'm sharing, please remember to give me a thumbs up and to subscribe to the channel, as is the best way you can support the channel. Thank you very much. Almost identical idea happens in the Morris Smith Gambit in the Sicilian. So let's see it. e4, c5, d4, c takes d4, c3. This is the Morris Smith. We accepted d takes c3, knight takes c3, knight c6, knight f3, e6, bishop c4, a6, castle, and queen c7. Yeah, this is the idea of playing a6. We don't want white to play knight b5. So queen e2, knight f6, bishop g5, knight g4. Again, we're controlling this square. Now, this time the bishop is on f8. And after h3, getting rid of our knight, we use the same idea, knight d4, winning on the spot. Yeah, we win the queen as knight takes d4, queen h2, checkmate. That was the second idea. Let's jump right into the third idea. Well, the third idea is a powerful idea that appears in various openings. We are going to talk about the Stafford Gambit and the Ruy-Lopez exchange variation. So let's start. e4, e5, knight f3, knight f6, knight takes e5, and yeah, this is the Russian defense, and knight c6, the Stafford Gambit, recommended several times by the famous YouTuber Eric Rosen. Knight takes c6, d takes c6, and black sacrifices a pawn to gain open diagonals, open lines for their pieces, and this is really interesting. So d3, bishop c5, bishop e2, white wants to, after protecting the pawn, wants to castle as soon as possible. h5, yeah, we use this pawn to get access to g4, castle, knight g4, putting pressure on f2, and after h3, we're going to use the famous fishing pole trap. Yeah, queen d6. Yeah, we don't care about white capturing h takes d4, h takes d4, as the rook gets open and the queen is ready to get to h2, and white cannot do anything to stop it. I mean, g3 could seem normal, but with the help of the bishop, we can play queen takes g3, checkmate. This is the famous fishing pole trap. You can get it from a variety of openings. My next video on Saturday, I'll show you a very nice variation of this in the Fisher Association. So stay tuned so you don't miss it. This is a very interesting idea. So the other way to reach the fishing pole trap is by the Ruy Lopez, the exchange variation. After knight c6, bishop b5, a6, bishop takes c6, d takes c6, castle, and bishop g4, with the idea, of course, of replying h3 with h5. Yeah, we are sacrificing the bishop in order to open the h file, and if the knight moves, knight takes e5, queen h4, and yeah, we're getting to h1, f3, g3, so the king doesn't escape, and yeah, mating 1. Now let's go right into the fourth idea. Okay, idea number 4 is a very popular one. I've seen a lot of videos explaining the following gambit. So this is d4, knight f6, knight d2. Yeah, this is not a decent move. I mean, c4 is the normal way to play, but this will help us understanding a very nice trap that we can use in serious openings. So knight d2, and now e5, something like a Budapest gambit. The Budapest gambit appears after c4, e5. This is pretty sound. It's one of the almost dubious, but it's playable. It's not easy to refute, and some strong players have played it. So after knight d2, e5, d takes e5, knight g4, and now after h3, a double question mark move, a blunder, black can play knight e3. Yeah, we can be captured, but in case of white capturing, we play queen h4, a fool's checkmate, so g3, queen takes g3, and checkmate. Otherwise, after knight e3, white's queen is lost. So how can we apply this into normal theory? Yeah, against the Caro-Kann, you might think that I hate the Caro-Kann because I give a lot of ideas on how to meet it. But okay, I don't know, it's only by chance that there are plenty of traps and interesting ideas. So in case you haven't seen my video against the Caro-Kann, I highly recommend you do. I actually have various videos, but one that, in which I recommend 3 powerful tricks. And yeah, it's a very nice set of ideas. Okay, so after c6, d4, d5, knight d2, d takes e4, knight takes e4, and knight d7. That was the favorite of Anatoly Karpov. It's a really solid move. And after knight g5, we are seeing a similar pattern. And if black plays h6, we play knight e6, attacking the queen. And of course, the knight cannot be captured, as after f takes e6, queen h5, and yeah, the fool's checkmate again. Yeah, g6 and queen takes g6. I'll show you how the game may continue. Queen a5, bishop d2, queen b6, bishop d3. Yeah, still sacrificing the knight. And here black accepts to grab it after f takes e6, queen h5, king d8, and bishop a5, winning the queen and the game. Let's jump right into idea number 5. Yeah, idea number 5 features a very typical bad trap of the Italian, and I'll try to convert it to make it good. Yeah, you'll see what I'm talking about. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, and yeah, knight d4. This is a bad idea because we're moving for the second time the knight, but it hides a very dangerous trap. Yeah, if white, rather than castling or than taking knight takes d4, that both of them are good, decides to take the pawn on e5, queen g5, knight f7, queen takes g2, rook f1, queen takes e4, and in case of bishop e2, the most normal, knight f3, checkmate. That's the raw idea. But let's see how to apply it to serious lines. Yeah, let's go back to bishop c4. Now, instead of playing knight d4, that I don't recommend this line to anyone. So let's imagine we play bishop c5 and our opponents play b4, the famous Evans gambit. Yeah, we can retreat to b6, and here we can use this idea in a natural way. b5, knight d4. Yeah, this time we're jumping because we're being attacked. Yeah, we're jumping to d4. So after knight takes e5, we can use the same idea, queen g5. Bishop b6, a4, threatening a5. We play a5, they advance, and we place the knight on d4. Of course, they should castle. But okay, we must know that if they take, we can play queen g5, knight f7, queen takes g2, and so on and so forth, rook f1, and queen takes e4, bishop e2, and knight f3, checkmate. Yet another one. After bishop c4, knight f6, the so-called two knights defense, and after knight g5, d5, e takes d5, and now knight d4. Yeah, this is completely different, but we'll get to the same checkmating pattern. Yeah, d6, this is a bad move. The best move is c3. d6, queen takes d6, knight takes f7. So this time we play queen c6, knight takes h8, and again queen takes g2, rook f1, queen e4, bishop e2, and knight f3. Yeah, this time was a little bit more dramatic as white's knight reached h8. I hope you can use it in your game. As you've seen, these tactical ideas aren't limited to just one opening. They appear in all sorts of positions, and these give you more chances to catch your opponents off guard. The key is to recognize pattern, stay alert, and apply them when the moment is right. Which idea was your favorite? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Goodbye.